is a bottom line type of thing, no pun intended. How do I increase my income? One of the biggest challenges we have when we're making a career pivot is we're like, well, it's kind of two different camps, right? There's a camp of, wow, my career is my career as we know it, the job as I know it is gone. I was not expecting that. I need to make some money right now. Or it's, hey, what I'm doing right now isn't quite cutting it, and I want to level up. Of course, the latter is a little bit more of a comfortable place to be because it's less urgency. But as fellow coaches, and I know some coaches watch this show. I coach some of you, coaching some of the coaches. But as fellow coaches know, and if you've been around the block a few times, you know that sometimes urgency and necessity is the mother of invention, and sometimes we need an urgency. I've shared stories where, I've worked with people and they didn't have any urgency. And therefore, whatever advice or guidance I gave to them fell flat. So we need some type of urgency to change. Otherwise, we're not going to change. This is part of human nature. Is kind of how it works. As far as increasing your income, there's a few ways to do it. The first one, obviously, is to ask for a raise. I mentioned this just to check it out, check off the box. The problem with raises is number one, well, right now we're almost clearly heading into a recession. Not financial advice, just we've been teeter on it for a few years now. So the chances of there being more capital for your boss or your supervisor or your company that you work for to give you, odds are not in your favor. Just rather be honest with you. Again, back to what I was talking about in the last segment. I'm gonna try to give you the truth as much as possible. And to be honest with you, the odds are not in your favor. If you're able to get a raise, and I know people that have gotten raises in the last few months, blessings to you, fantastic. You don't want to bank on it though, no pun intended. Number two, your value, I call this bring your worth, your value might not be recognized by the leader that you're under and or the organization that you work with, at least financial value. So yeah, there's a lot of stats have been coming out recently saying that some of the best ways to actually get a raise is to get a new job, and then you actually will get an entry salary that's more commiserate. I think is the word, more commiserate with the new place that you're with the work that you're doing. You know what I mean? And so it's like, oh, why is that? Well, it's because you know the as the saying goes. I think the saying is I'm going to paraphrase it, but the soothsayer isn't believed in his own village. In other words, sometimes you need to leave home to actually be respected at home. Been there before, right? So, whole nother story. Maybe we'll do a whole nother live about that. So, going for the raise, I'm young Gen X. That's that's baby boomer up language. We're not gonna bank on that. But if you can get it, hey, it's good work if you can get it, as they used to say. The second layer, as far as bringing in more income, is multiplying your streams of income. A lot of that comes from side hustles. Now, let's separate the two different types of side hustles. And in fact, one of them I wouldn't even consider a side hustle, but I need to clarify just to make sure that we have the same definitions. A side hustle is a business that you build that brings in income outside of your main income. That's it. That's a side hustle. Over here, we have a gig. And I don't mean like comedian gig or a music gig. Shout out to both of y'all. But no, I actually mean like the gig economy, the new terminology. Gig economy is you doing light work, often light work, through an app for a company, and they pay you per delivery or per like a la carte, piece by piece. And you're usually using your own tools, like using your own car for Uber or Lyft, right? That's different. I'm not talking about so gig work is there. It'll always be there. If that helps you keep food on the table for your family or get through a rough time, do it. Go for it. Just make sure you read the terms and conditions, T and C's, and make sure that you're actually making money on it. Because if you're putting a bunch of gas and mileage onto your car, and you have an older car, then it might not be worth the $50 you're getting from, say, the transport service. Random advice there. What we're really talking about is side hustles. Side hustles are things that you built up. Um, this show began as a side hustle in December of 2020. So we're going our 5 year anniversary at the end of the year. And so that was something where my main way of making a living was between journalism and my coaching, those two things. This ended up being another opportunity. If you remember December 2020, rough period of time for the earth. And so we were on lockdown because of COVID-19. And so I wanted the opportunity to continue to connect with y'all. Part of my money, that was a smaller amount. Part of my money came from public speaking, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to go on the road. Um, my former partner was a doctor, and so I was talking to her, and we are both looking at each other like, "Yeah, this isn't going to end anytime soon." So I was like, "All right," and it did take a while. So luckily, I built this show, and now we got 18,000 of y'all coming through, which I appreciate. And so, but this began as a side hustle. And now I have sponsors and I have the newsletter at joindamon.me, also began as a side hustle. So those things are things that you essentially built from scratch. I think in between that would be something like a franchise. Like if you became a franchise owner of a Subway or of a Chick-fil-A, that would be somewhere in between, right? Because it's not a business you're building from scratch, but it's not gig work either. And shout out to I know Chick-fil-A owners and people that have owned other franchises. Shout out to y'all. That's hard work, especially since you're not getting all the money because there's a certain amount, of course, that's going to corporate and certain rules and regulations that as an entrepreneur, I don't have any rules and regulations aside from the SEC or whatever. But when you work with a franchise, there's certain rules and regulations within their franchise, which is fair. They might even give you some of the upfront money so that you might have to pay that back. There's all kind of details depending on the franchise that you're interested in. Side hustle is something where you're going to be building something from scratch. It's usually just you, and it's probably connected to something that you're really into. And one of the best ways to find out what side hustle might work for you is to figure out what you're known for in and outside of the organization. What are you known for inside and outside the organization? So you might be pre pivot. This is making up all kinds of words. Pre pivot today. Excuse me. You might be pre pivot today. So you're still within the organization that you're planning on leaving, or you feel like your time is going to be up soon, or you don't want to depend on just that source of income. So then what are you known for within the organization? There might be a certain skill set that you have that you're always called on. Like no matter what organization I was working with, people would always tell me stories. Now, quite a few knew I had a journalism background, but just because you have journalism background doesn't mean that people want to tell you their story. Those are two separate things. So it's like, oh, people like confiding in me. I found out later. That would be the big word I would use. So it made sense. I don't know, well into my journalism career when I was looking at pivoting and then I had sold my business. It's like, oh, and people are asking about coaching. Coaching might make sense because people want to share their stories with me, even if it's something that they feel shame or guilt about. I feel I'm pretty good at creating a emotional safety for them. Some of that is practice, but some of that is just how I am. So it usually ends up meeting in the middle, right? You have certain innate qualities within like things you're born with, but then you might also have like a certain skill set, like being a journalist for X number of years. And part of journalism, good journalism, is learning how to listen to people, understand what they're really trying to say, and giving them space to talk, whether you're broadcast or print like I was. So that made sense. That's what one of the things I was known for. So when the coaching opportunities started to come in, I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense because these skill sets match. Also, what you're known for outside of the organization. So it could be within your friend group, it could be within the neighborhood. My kids are involved in Cub Scouts and they go to karate school. There's a lot of nonprofit slash group organizing things. And you can see, I love systems and watching people and understanding how people interact. You can see like natural leadership here, or people that are really good at organizing, or people who are really good at fundraising and who are good at the accounting. You can see those natural things even in, say, your volunteer work at your place of worship, at the where your kids or your older relatives get organized at the community centers. Those things naturally come out because we are who we are wherever we are, right? So, right, as I've learned in the past, it's like, yeah, I still have the journalism bug, even though I don't do as much journalism as I used to. So, yes, you can go and ask for a raise. More power to you if you can get it. Um, Building a side hustle will probably make more sense and having multiple sources of income. I've had several videos about it, including one I'm about to introduce to you right now. So I've had several sources of income for probably when I first started self-publishing books. I want to say my income started to multiply as far as streams, probably about 10 years ago. And then that led to me having the show, which is another stream of income. It's led to my coaching, another stream, like all these different pieces kind of come together. And then that allows me to, if the if there's not much going on financially with the show, then I have my coaching. If there's not much going on with the coaching, then I have a column that I do semi-regularly for Costco magazine. It's called Costco Connection. Familiar if you're familiar with Costco, the big box store. So I'm not a regular columnist, but I'll do a column or two a year for them. So money might come in from that. So it's all balancing it out. That allows it makes it a lot easier for me to pivot and move from here to here. I have a couple big projects that, knock on wood, I'm looking to have come out by the end of this year. I'm able to allocate some resources, time or energy towards those because I know I have resources coming over here. I also do some consulting and ghostwriting, so I have that over here. All those different streams of income means that if this is going slow, I have these 8 other things that are happening. That allows me to, again, take care of my family, take care of myself, and not burn myself out. That's what I mean by pivoting before you have to. And if you're in an opportunity where your money is relatively stable, you just want more of it, and you're not in a crisis situation where you just lost your job, then take advantage of this time. That's the perfect time. The perfect time is not when you get the pink slip. The perfect time is not um, when suddenly your income source is gone. The perfect time is when everything's all right, because then you can ease into that. I think I talked about that in the original Bring Your Worth book, which I think I might have here. Oh, there it is. So I talk about that in the original Bring Your Worth book, which is included in the complete Bring Your Worth collection. Um, but I talk about that in here where new ideas, new opportunities are like a Parisian croissant, where they're fluffy and they're light and they're beautiful, but you I don't mean like the croissants they make here in America. You can tell I'm a food guy, but I don't mean those. Like the croissant sandwich from Burger King, which are delicious, by the way. No, I'm talking about the Parisian croissants where they just you put a little bit of weight on them, they just smash. That's what our dreams are. That's what our big ideas are. Is that if we put too much pressure on them, they're going to collapse. Not because they're bad, but because if let's say you're making $75,000 a year and then you start a side hustle and you want to make 75,000 from that, you way too much pressure. Now, if you want to make $750 or hell $75, do you see the difference? See that weight kind of get off your chest? That's what you want to do with this. So if you are an opportunity right now where your job is relatively secure, you have enough money, but you just want more, get the income streams going now because nothing is guaranteed. As you get into your multiple income streams, two really important resources for you. The first one is from my man, Chris Gillenbaugh. Hope you're doing wonderful. He actually has a new book coming out about taking care of yourself and your mental health. I should be getting a copy soon. I'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. Side hustle from income, from idea. I got it backwards. Must be my day to day. From idea to income in 27 days. Fantastic book. Got it signed. Went went on his book tour when I was back in Detroit, close to one of my hometowns, and it was fantastic connecting with him. 27 days. I know I've mentioned this book before. Today is April 2nd. By April 30th, you could be rocking and rolling. That's all I got to say. Case closed. That's it. My two favorite words, aside from I guess bring your worth with you, my three favorite words. My favorite two-word couplet. Passive income, passive income, passive income. Maximize your passive income. This came out about a year ago. It's all my best stuff about passive income. In fact, I need to do an update, so I'm glad we're talking about it today. I'll do an update later on this year for 2025. But for 2024, all this is still relevant. Check it out. One of my favorite episodes I did last year as far as compilations. It's only about a half an hour long. If you're like, Damon, I want to build passive income, which let's define it right now. Excuse me. Passive income would be income that you do not need to do much more work for. Now, it might be some tweaking you have to do. If you go to damebrown.net and you buy a copy of the complete Bring Your Worth collection, then I'll have to sign it and throw it in the mail. But the thing about passive income is that the work is already done. I talk about that in here in the video. But the brief version is that passive income, in my definition, is something that you create or do once, and then it sells over and over again. Books will be part of that, as with other things. And it really depends on where you're at, what your skill set is, a lot of stuff we talked about in today's episode. Be sure and check it out. I want to say it's like 27 minutes long. It's worth your time. It's worth your time. I don't always say that. This one is worth your time. So are you looking to increase your income this year? Are you in a situation where you need more income? Let us know in the comments. And then I might be able to direct you to some other videos. And if you want to go deeper, damebrown.net. Maybe there's a way that we can work together. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown, and Bring Your Worth TV live Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free. And today we are talking about, as soon as I find it, how to pivot your career. Live Q&A. Thank you so much for coming through. I'm going to go ahead and if you're watching the replay of this, there's going to be a link to the video on passive income. Be sure and check that out because I would highly recommend it after this, especially if you're all excited to move on to the next level, which I'm excited for you if you're feeling that way. Until next time, remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourselves and others.